Hello, I'm Vic Idstar Hill and I'm going to show you today how I draw a face. So this is going to be an incredibly simple face, but it sort of just illustrates the principle of how I go about drawing faces in general. I always start with a circle, and this kind of makes up the sort of top part of what is basically someone's skull, and then from there I'll draw a little X on it, or a cross. Looks a little bit like a religious cross, so that the center of the cross is in the center of the circle, but the bottom line carries on down because that's going to be the bottom half of the face. And from here I can make any kind of face shape, really. You can start with slightly different shapes if you want to, but I generally start here and then build around the shape of the face on either side first, and then I can decide how long I want the face to be. So I can have a really long face like this, or I could have a really short face like this. I could have a really pointy face like this, or I could have someone with a really squared jaw like this. I'm gonna go somewhere in the middle just for the purpose of this. So a little point like this. So this here at the bottom would be the chin. I also generally stick an ear on it at this point, and I tend to draw my ears nice and big like that. I'm not sure why I put the ear there first, I just sort of do. The purpose of this line, this cross rather, in the middle is to show where your eyes and the sort of central line of your face are going to sit. So generally the eyes will sit on the horizontal line and the nose will sort of sit in the middle. To kind of rough out the shape of this, sometimes I'll just sort of draw a little pupil to demonstrate where the sort of main pupil of the eye is going to be, and then sort of a little triangle like this. And oftentimes I find that the bottom of my triangle to represent the nose is going to meet where the bottom of that initial circle fell. Sometimes though, I will go right in and draw a big old eye like that, but it sort of depends a little bit on the expression that I'm going to go with, or if I'm going to put a nose at all. Sometimes I will just draw a little nose like that. Sometimes I won't put in a nose at all, but I like to use that kind of triangle to give a broad idea of where that nose is going to be. And the mouth will sit sort of between the bottom of the nose and the chin, and you could have, again, a mouth sort of down here. You could have a mouth a lot higher up than that as well, so like this. You can have a big wide mouth, a little sort of scary face, or you can have a very, very short mouth. And all of these things will represent different expressions or feelings or character traits that you want to portray with the character sort of that you're drawing. So take all of that back out. I'm going to just draw a fairly generic friendly person. I tend to draw pupils rather than sort of dots in the middle of an eye like this. I tend to draw pupils as like a circle in the middle, and then I do a colour within that, so that will designate the colour of a person's eye. And there are other ways to do that, where you can have, you know, eyes like this that have just got solid dots in. You can do eyes like this where there's a solid dot and then an outer iris, and you can put a little colour light on it, and that will sort of designate the colour of someone's pupil there. There are a number of ways to draw eyes, and I can come back to that in a whole other video another time. I like to draw big chunky eyebrows when I'm drawing some characters, so that's what I'm going to kind of go with today. This is a very, very rough, scrappy drawing. And then I can give the face a little bit more shape. Generally, when you look at a person's face, this is kind of like a 3/4 angle, so it's not dead straight on. You'll notice I've only drawn the ear on one side, the idea being that the other ear is kind of just a little bit further around the head. That's sort of what this style implies. So we're going to see this ear, but not that one, as if this person has started to turn away to you in this kind of direction. And when you get that effect, you'll see that the shape of a human face generally dips in a bit at about eye level and then comes back out for the cheek. But again, this is kind of a stylistic choice, and you could have an entirely square face or a super circular face, and it won't matter a whole lot. I've kind of masked the hairline with my enormous eyebrows here, but that would kind of come around like this. And I like to give enormous sideburns. This is going to be a dude. when I'm drawing dudes, they all have enormous sideburns. That just seems to be the way I draw them. I'm going to give him, let's give him a nice wacky haircut. And I'm just going to do a line mouth, I think. And you can have just a line like that. You can do a little bit there that represents the idea that this is a bottom lip. Because I go for a very sort of simple cartoon style, I don't tend to illustrate too much detail in that part of the face, just so that it doesn't look a little bit sort of muddy and complex. So if I was to draw lips on top of that as well, it starts to look a little bit sort of more clunky than I generally go for. So I tend to keep it really simple and just draw a line or two. And you can have a mouth be just a line, so that's a kind of closed mouth. Or what I can do as well, I could make him very, very happy. So I can have a nice open mouth like this. Or I could make him he looks a little bit stunned there. Or I could make him look a little bit like awkward, like he's trying to smile. Like, this is great, lovely. There's a number of different expressions you can get out of that. I think I'll do a whole video just about expressions. Let's go back to a nice kind of generic friendly guy face. And that is pretty much a really, really rapid, quick look at how I would draw a face. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if that was remotely interesting or useful, or if there's something that you'd like me to show you how I draw next. You can also take a look at the other videos on my channel. I've got a few speed drawing videos and a couple of other things, and I will be doing a lot more of these in the future. But for now, toodle pip!